Bro, how dope is my freaking opening intro? That's the dopest ever.
I got hyped just watching that.
So hyped, bro. So, hey guys, welcome to Sunday service. Today is December 6th. I've got Ricky Morgan on the show. We had Ricky Morgan on, what was it? Wholesale Hotline warm-up show a couple of weeks ago, right?
Right.
So real quick, because I think Cody's not going to make it tonight. So you guys just need to know Cody's got the COVID. So we're not going to have him here tonight. But Ricky Morgan is a friend of mine. We played golf together a couple of weeks ago, and we were chatting about how Ricky lives here in Arizona, and he's virtually wholesaling and virtually fixing and flipping from New Jersey. And I, no joke, for like the preceding 4 or 5 months, heard everybody that lives in Jersey is like, you can't do deals in Jersey. You can't do deals in Jersey. You can't fix and flip. You can't wholesale. You can't do anything in Jersey. And then I go play golf with Ricky, and Ricky's like, yeah, I'm virtually doing all of that from Arizona, of all places, in New Jersey. So what we were talking about before the show, and if you guys want to get more in depth on Ricky, we can do that here in a little bit. But right before the beginning of the show, we were, he says, Pace, how you doing? And I said, dude, honestly, I've got the devil on my shoulder on one side, and I got an angel on the other side of my shoulder. And they're saying, one of them saying the market's going to crash. The other one saying, no, it's not. Everything is going to be great. Keep buying tons and tons of fix and flips. What are your thoughts on it, Ricky? Because I'm sure our audience will have a lot to say about it.
Yeah. I think it's a great question right now. I do think the fact that interest rates seem like they're going to stay low for a long time is going to, make people want to continue to buy, and inventory still seems low. So I'm not super concerned right now, but I think just depending what happens with all these shutdowns, I don't know how much longer before we see a lot of foreclosures, maybe sometime next year. But
that's what I'm talking about, right? So like, I'm super bullish for the next, I'd say, at least 6 months.
Yeah, we're not slowing down like our flipping as far as acquisitions.
Right. So we're super bullish. We're going to continue to buy, buying more fix and flips. I actually just thought on Friday, I go, you know what? I need to start doing some of my own outreach here locally, because our fix and flip inventory, the second we put it on the market, it is gone. What about you guys in Jersey? Is it the same thing?
It's pretty quick. It's not as hot as here. I mean, it's hard to beat Phoenix as far as hot markets, but even for small suburb towns in like New Jersey, I mean, you're seeing things over asking first day, left and right. Realtors in Jersey are saying they've never seen the market quite this hot. So it's been good for our flips. They're selling quickly.
So are you guys primarily focusing on flips right now or wholesale?
Primarily flips. We've just been finding that it's been a little harder to find deals. So we're just trying to maximize the profit on every single deal that we come across. So mostly flips, and our spreads are so big on our flips in Jersey. Our average retail flip, we're making 75, 80K per retail flip. So
hot damn.
It's kind of a no-brainer, but acquisitions is getting tougher. So we're not trying to wholesale too much currently.
Yeah, interesting. So Rob Robbins is one of my students. Consider him a friend, family guy from Northern California. Amazing, amazing man. He says, I think the market will change and there will be a wave of foreclosures next year, but because the money is so cheap, we won't see a crash like last time. I completely agree with Rob, but we also, let's take this into consideration. Guys, I'm not convinced either way. But I'm looking at it and I'm saying, all right, we have more unemployment than we ever had. We're printing more money than we ever have. Now we're going into a second wave, and there's more COVID, patients right now than there were before. Now there's also other pieces of information like they can test it now, whereas they couldn't test it before. So maybe back then, there was more going on. Who knows? But at the end of the day, it's as bad or worse as it was before. We're going into a second wave. And I know we're going to have a vaccine. I know that. I get that. But that doesn't take out the fact that we've had basically 12 million people not working for the last 6-7 months. And that's going to continue at least 3 to 5 more months, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. you're not really sure when this is going to all end. And I don't know, but at some point it's like, they got to stop printing money and it's got to catch up. You would think,
Right.
That's what I've been kind of thinking the whole time. But it's been interesting though. When you talk to sellers right now, they don't really feel distressed by this whole situation, which is kind of interesting. They're hearing all their realtor friends tell them, how hot the market is. Their houses are going up in value. I haven't seen too much distress from the whole COVID situation. I don't know about you guys.
Bro, like I was driving home from dinner just not too long ago, and I saw this corner in my neighborhood where I had this call about 6 months ago. I was talking to a probate attorney, gave me a referral. I was talking to the seller on my cell phone. And for some reason, it just popped up in my mind, that conversation. And I remember this was like June. So like COVID had like already brought the shockwave, right?
Right.
The seller was completely unfazed, did not care at all. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe 10% of our sellers are, hey, I'm going through something COVID related, but I'm surprised that there's not more people right now that are saying, I don't have a job. I need to cash out my house right now and get into a rental. Are you seeing any of that?
No. And I think that's kind of because, like in New Jersey, they've done 0 evictions since it started. I think my partner Steve was saying that this month or in a few weeks they should start allowing evictions again, but it just hasn't seemed like too much distress from any sellers from that standpoint. We did have a lead come in where like the husband's he has some like sickness and they can't have a lot of people walking through the house because he doesn't have like much of an immune system. So that was COVID related. But besides that, I haven't heard too much from sellers talking about them not having jobs, them not having income, not a lot of financial distress.
Super interesting. So, got some really good questions in here. We've got about 280 people watching live, guys. So thank you so much. We're going to be on here for at least another hour. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We've got Ricky Morgan on the show today. Anybody that's wondering where Cody is, please send him a Facebook message or take a photo of this and tag Cody in Instagram stories and just say, hey, we miss you. Hopefully you get better. He's got the COVID.
Yeah, feel better.
He had to like get IVs and stuff last night. Like it got pretty intense. So check this out. Somebody asked a really good question about you. Specifically, why did you choose the New Jersey market?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I actually grew up in New Jersey and I moved out to Phoenix right after college. I was looking for sales jobs and a position opened up in Phoenix. I like the warm weather. I like golfing. So it seemed like a good move, but I lived in Jersey my whole life. So that's why I'm over there. And I connected with my partner now, Steve. We played college golf together and he started doing real estate in New Jersey first. So we kind of just combined forces. We both started kind of wholesaling at the same time. And what kind of happened was he was really good at, rehabbing projects and, just transactions and knowing how real estate deals work. He bird about 20 rentals kind of in this park called Trenton, New Jersey, low income. So he knew a lot about actually doing deals. I knew a lot about sales and marketing. So it was kind of a good combination. I think kind of like you and Cody have very different skill sets as a partners. And I think that's why you guys work so well. So I kind of feel like that's with Steve and I, we kind of have very different skill sets. So it really helps us just not drain us of doing things that we don't like to do or things that we're not good at.
Bro, I spend an hour a week getting rid of the things that take energy from me. So I that's a whole topic that I love jumping into. Anybody that doesn't understand rocket fuel and the visionary integrator relationship, you are freaking missing out. So, Ricky, what was your first deal? Was it a fix and flip? Was it a wholesale? What was it?
Yeah. So my first deal ever was actually a wholesale to Temp Walker. So you guys might know Templeton. It was before I partnered with Steve. I was running Facebook ads just locally around Phoenix. And I came across a lead in Scottsdale. And this was like, I didn't really know what to do. But I saw Temp on social media, and I kind of knew him through another friend. And I heard he was kind of like, a good guy to do business with. So I just kind of called him up. We went on the appointment together. He locked it up. I made, I think, $5,000 on the assignment fee. And then I think Temp actually wholesaled it out on the back end. So it worked out for both of us. And I kind of, just got my first deal done. I wasn't worried about making a bunch of money. I just wanted to, get a deal under my belt.
Bro, I'll take $5,000 on a wholesale deal all day long.
Right.
And especially on your first one. Sometimes I hear a lot of stories from people doing their first one where they basically, make $1,000. They're happy to walk away just with proof of concept, right?
Yeah, I think that's most important when you're first starting is, don't chase the money every deal. If you could learn from someone like you, or, I was hiking with like a guy like Zach Keeps today, if you could do a deal with him, you should every single time, just for the experience that you're going to learn and see how other people operate. So.
Yeah, I love Zach. He's one of the best people of all time. He's unbelievable. We've got a comment on the screen going back to our original conversation. I'm not sure about the market crash. So many entrepreneurs are coming out of this pandemic, and more people are now tuning into how to do business virtually. Dude, that couldn't resonate with me more. So for us, like one of the things that we're transitioning out of in our business is we're transitioning away from having American acquisition people. And it's not that we're transitioning away from it. It's that we're turning our American acquisition people into managers of virtual assistants, because what we've done is in our Florida market, and we have another market we've been testing out the last 3 months, that market with just virtual assistants. So they do the cold call, they do the follow-up, they do the lead management, and they do the deal conversion. They're actually converting the sellers.
So they're deal.
Bro, they're locking up the contract, sending it over to the transaction coordinator. None of my Americans have any involvement whatsoever.
Wow.
Insane.
Yeah. I actually tried that with my business for about 4 months, and he was able to lock up a couple, like really like beat up homes. Like this is when we were kind of virtual. We went to like Alabama and just like all these like southern states with like crappy homes. And he locked up a couple deals that weren't really deals, like those like 5K shacks that we tried moving.
Oh yeah.
But we struggled just training a VA to lock up deals. So that's pretty cool that you guys have kind of figured that out, because I know
we figured it out in 2 markets. So like for us, we've got Tino, Jeff, and we've got Nick. And then I have another 5 acquisition people underneath them. Right. So those 5 acquisition people, what I've told them is I said, look, we're going virtual assistants by middle of 2021. We're basically only going to have our acquisition people managing 5 to 6 other acquisition people virtually. So in order for you to have that opportunity, you've got to hit certain numbers. Otherwise, we've got to basically just phase you out. And so we're giving them 6 months heads up, just going that direction, bro. Like, I think the toughest part, do you have any acquisition people work for you yet? Or is it just you and your partner?
No. So right now we have me and my partner, and then we have a virtual assistant in the Philippines, and he's kind of just our like admin, just kind of any task we got going on that we need help with. He's kind of doing it. But I have a couple people like answer some like ringless voicemails for me. If I don't pick up the phone first, then it goes to a couple guys, a couple friends of mine that are trying to learn the business. So we kind of just made a deal like, hey, answer these live calls. There's nothing better than like talking to sellers live. So it kind of worked out as far as, having them help out a little bit, but our business is literally just me and my partner. So we kind of like to keep it small for now, but it's interesting what you and Cody are doing with those VAs and actually having them lock up deals.
Yeah. So like the last one that we had that convinced us to go that route is a $60,000 assignment. No involvement from any American whatsoever until it went over to the transaction coordinator. And it was like, wait, okay. Like we've popped 10s, 12s, 15s, we've popped good deals. But when we got that $60,000 deal, we were like, okay, this is where we're going. So we did 11 contracts in our test market with 8 virtual assistants. We did 8 contracts with 3 acquisition guys in our Phoenix market. So we look at the amount of money that we pay out, and I think it's not even about the money, bro. You probably know this. Everybody on here knows what's the hardest part about running a business. Is it coming up with an idea? Is it working your guts out? Is it sacrificing your time, your energy? Is it basically being stressed out the whole time? No. The hardest part about running a business in wholesale or real estate is motivating your employees to catch the vision, and then not just motivate them, but have them stay consistent without you having to remotivate them every 48 hours. It is literally like, when I calculate how much time I spend on a weekly basis and where I put my time, I would say a good 10% of my time is spent on motivating and getting people to be consistent with their job.
Yeah. And that's something like we've really have tried a few different strategies this year, and it's something we struggle with, and that's why it's stayed small. We just haven't found like the right piece yet. But I think to your point, it's like, well, what we did was we hired a couple acquisitions people, but the amount of training and time and, like you said, energy to motivate them, be on top of them, it was almost like I was doing more work doing that than just like answering the calls and, making the phone calls myself.
Yeah, dude. I mean, so here's a couple of differences with virtual assistants. I see a bunch of questions between all of our stuff. Look at my part. This is my partner, Matt Beard, by the way. So Matt Beard says $600,000 from Philippine acquisition so far in the last 4 months. It can be done. So that's our company. That's my business partner.
You guys train the VAs yourself?
So here's what we did. This is a self-promoting piece. So guys, I apologize for this. This is self-promoting. We were using virtual assistants between Matt, myself, and Cody. And then we decided, man, there's so many people that don't understand how to find a good VA. And they don't realize this is the number one reason why people fail with a VA, is that they have no idea how to train them, keep them, on task, create standard operating procedures so that VA continually does the same task over and over, how to measure it, and then also how to scale, and what does that organizational chart look like. So Matt, Cody, and myself created a company called vahub.com. I'm more of an investor than I am, an operating partner there. I don't do anything over there other than just talk about the services. Yeah. Matt, Cody run it. So what we've done, and this is what we plan on doing in 2021, is we plan on building out a VA. Like you plug in, you literally are like, hey, Pace, Matt, Cody, I'm ready to go into business. And we literally hand over a team of people that are already trained in lead management, cold calling, lead conversion, like sales, and then transaction coordinating. So it's like, you don't have to go find them. You don't have to hire them. You don't have to create SOPs. These people already know exactly how to pull a list. They know how to follow up. They know how to convert, and they know how to find buyers and get a transaction done. Right. So we're creating a bundle over at VA Hub sometime in 2021 that will emulate our current business model. And that business model will be basically a plug and play, right? So where it comes from is there's guys like Rylas Dana, one of our probate attorneys, that's like, I want to wholesale. I want to get into the wholesaling and real estate space, but I don't have the time to do all that. So we go, dude, why don't we just do a business in a box for somebody who actually has a budget that says, dude, I don't want to go through 8 months or 10 months or 18 months or whatever it is to get started. Yeah. The other thing that we realize is that people will go out and spend $30, $40, $50, $80, $100,000 in education on real estate and still never get a deal. Yeah. Right. And so what we're saying is saying, hey, we'll give you, whether you're sub 2 or you're Astro or whatever, like just take 1 or 2 mentorships. Don't take 10. Take 1 or 2 mentorships, get a community that you can go and rely on, and then go spend your money on actually building your business, not hiring more coaches and doing all that stuff. So we realize there's a need in the space for people that are spending money on everything but actually generating leads, right?
Yeah, I mean, like me and my partner are always talking about like revenue generating activities. Like we always have to be top of mind of making sure we're doing that part of the business, because that's what keeps everything else going. Right. So, I mean, yeah, that's pretty dope that you guys are doing that, because I feel like right now, if we had someone to just do a little bit of lead management and just set us appointments, like I don't mind. I actually love, closing deals. So like, I don't want to give that away, because that's what like fires me up in the morning, is like when I have something I know we could close, negotiating the deal, getting the seller's price out and locking it up. But it would be really cool for us to have someone, just set us up with appointments. Then kind of our strategy is we set an appointment. My partner, Steve, goes there. He walks the property, takes photos. I get back on the phone. I negotiate the price and lock it up over the phone.
Right.
So it'd be cool to have like a VA to just, answer, call our cold call leads, once they come in, answer RVMs, just do kind of lead management, because that's what I'm struggling with is just, I don't want to make those like medium to cold lead calls right now. I have so much other stuff going on within my business that definitely that part is kind of slipping a little bit. Yep. I feel like, a lead manager type of role would be a good fit for that.
So check this out. Tell me if you think this would be sick. So in my sub 2 mentorship, we have literally like 30 hours, 40 hours a week that we're doing Zooms, right? So it's me at least 3 days a week on average. I'm in there 4 to 5 hours where I'm answering questions, structuring deals, talking to sellers, doing everything I possibly can. Then I have like 25 employees that support sub 2 mentorship behind me.
Damn.
And then also my acquisition team comes in on Wednesdays for 2 hours on Wednesday. And you just get to hear them follow up with, calls that our VAs from VA Hub have already set up the appointments. And then my team for 2 hours on Wednesdays lets my sub 2 students watch for 2 hours on Wednesday. Oh, then nice. We do sales training on Friday. That's Tino, Nick, Jeff. That's my team. Now I go to Atlanta. And I'm talking to one of my students and he goes, dude, it's game changing to be able to do that every single week, watch your team. I then go practice. I come back the next week. I get better, so on and so forth. And I go, dude, is there anything else I can do to help you even more? Right. We're face to face in Atlanta. This is a couple days ago.
Yeah.
It was honestly, I would love to watch somebody cold call so I can see other people getting told F you, F off, all that kind of stuff.
Happens all the time.
I call Matt and I go, hey, Matt, who's our best cold caller? Like, not best as in like the most amazing charismatic person, but the best in terms of consistency and is good at handling the FUs and all that kind of stuff. Even if he's not converting the highest, somebody that actually knows how to overcome these things the way as close to an American as possible.
Yeah.
So he goes, that's easy, dude. The guy's name is Sweet Rob. And I go, his first name's Sweet? And he goes, no. His name's Rob, but he's just like the sweetest guy in the world. So we call him Sweet Rob. I go, okay, here's what I want to do. I want to put Sweet Rob, because he's dialing for us 5, sometimes 6 days a week, 8 hours a day. I go, I want to put Sweet Rob on a live Zoom 1 day a week for 8 full hours. So everybody can watch him cold call, right? See how many leads he gets, fresh leads. How does he convert those over to our Podio? How does he handle this? How does he handle that? How does he set up the expectation for, the seller to expect a call from my acquisition team?
Yeah.
Then we got like excited about this, right? We get super excited. We're like, dude, this is exciting. All right. What more can we do? And I go, well, our lead manager is pretty damn amazing. Why don't we have our lead manager go live 1 day a week? Then it turns into, why don't we have our text message, the person who manages our text messages on batch leads all day long, why don't we have them do a screen capture live all day long, 1 day a week? Then it was like, okay, what else can we do for people? And then I told Matt, I go, well, you're having a weekly session with all of our teams. So we have about 30 VAs and our goal is to go to 35 to 40. And I go, you're having this meeting every week, for 2 hours where you're talking to the lead manager, you're talking to the heads of the organization. I think it would be really helpful for people to see a behind the scenes and be part of that meeting on a Zoom, even though they're just a fly on the wall. And Matt's like, dude, are you freaking kidding me? This is like the most value you could ever bring to anybody. And so that's what we're going to build that out in probably the next week to 2 weeks. Everybody in the comments, we've got a little over 300 people watching live tonight between all of our live streams. Appreciate you guys showing up. Would you guys get value out of that?
Dude, so Pace, listen to this. So before I got into real estate, I worked in sales. I worked at Yelp. So, you know, Yelp, the app, find
Oh,
restaurants.
yeah. Yeah.
So for 3 of the years, I was cold calling. I was making 80, 100 cold calls a day to business owners on Yelp, where people, you know, just talk bad about your business. We give a hard time about reviews to these business owners. Like Yelp is like very consumer friendly, not business owner friendly.
Oh, dude. Yeah. 100%.
Right. So we would try to sell them ads. So like I got really good at like cold calling and learning that rejection of like, you know, people just hanging up on you all day long. You know, you have to kind of get used to that. So I felt like when I got into real estate, like all that rejection from Yelp was such a value to me, because it was like, now, like when people tell me to go, you know, F off or whatever, it's no big deal. You know, it's on to the next phone call. But
Right.
I think to your point too, then I moved up and I actually managed the sales team. And whenever I got a new person and we tried getting them good at sales, the number one thing I had them do was listen to, you know, phone calls of the people on our team that were selling the most, so they could see exactly how they handled the conversation, from, you know, their tone, the questions that they asked, how much were they listening versus talking. And then I would also have them listen to their own calls. So I think everyone that wants to get better at cold calling, definitely record your own calls and then listen to what you're saying, because it's crazy. Like my team would think that they were saying one thing on the phone, like, oh yeah, I was being assertive, I was asking for the sale. And then I'd be like, let's listen back. And we listen back to the call and they were being super passive. Like they're like, I asked for the sale 3 times. I'm like, where? You know, and they never asked for the sale, or maybe they asked like 1 time and then got an objection and didn't overcome it, you know? So that was the best way that I trained my sales team to get better, was through recorded calls, through, you know, role plays, through listening to your own calls. So I think like you're right on, you know, the right track with that.
Yeah, I would think it would be really, really cool. What we would do is, you know, choose one of those. We probably figure out 5 days a week to go live, literally just 8 hours, their whole shift. So it's not like I'm completely messing up their day where, you know, they're having a coach or answer questions live. We just turn a Zoom on so you can watch them. And we just give the Zoom link out to, what we were thinking about doing is like, okay, if you're a YouTube subscriber of my YouTube channel, you get access to Sweet Rob. If you're a this, then you get access to that. And then if you're a sub 2 student, you get access to Matt and all the other things and whatever else. We were trying to figure out like how to give the most value to my students, but also give some good value to the community and give back. I remember when I first jumped into the game, it was a couple years before you jumped into the game. Well, probably 5 years before you jumped into the game. When you jumped into the game, Ricky, just probably in the last 18 months, our local community here in Phoenix is like tons of go-givers, right? So people go on appointments with you, they'll help out.
I mean,
dude, 5 years ago,
I was at your office, your batch office, like after I did like one deal, the day after you got that text message about the sub 2.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember you had a meetup that like next day at the batch office?
Oh yeah. It was, we were doing like, I don't know how many people we had, probably close to 100 people. It was a really good turnout.
Yeah. Like I was there. So like, you know, I say how fortunate I am that I kind of had that in the Phoenix market that, you know, people don't get everywhere else.
Yeah, we're really lucky. But like when I first started out, I would reach out to people and say, hey, can I go on an appointment with you? And people were like, yeah, no. Why would I go on an appointment with you? Why would I show you what I know how to do? So
yeah.
People then ask me all the time, why do you go on these ride-alongs? Why do you take people on ride-alongs? And obviously COVID has really stopped that, but yeah. I just loved being able to provide something to somebody that I felt like if I had that, I would have shaved 2 years or at least a year minimum off my learning curve, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Let's see here, guys. We got so many great comments. I'm so sorry. We've been yammering away. We've got over 300 watchers between all of our streams. I appreciate you guys showing up. Rob Robin says, can we mention that Ricky has done what you've done in the last 15? What Ricky has done in sales over his last 15 deals? Absolutely. Ricky, what have you done in sales?
So we've done about 600,000 in gross revenue and about 500 in net. So we had about 100K in expenses this year, did about 600 on 15 deals. So about 40,000 a deal.
That's pretty amazing, dude. I mean, between the two partners, you guys pulling in $250,000 a year. I imagine you were not making that at Yelp.
No, definitely not. So it's yeah, it's been a cool transition, and just like kind of looking at what you've done too. Like I think of like that meeting at the Batch office, and then to see like what you've done since then in such a short amount of time, it gets me excited to think about like the next few years. Just kind of keep it growing.
So what are your thoughts on fix and flip? Because for me and you, like you and I love hanging out with you because we can talk fix and flip. For most people, fix and flip really scares them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's not just a quick assignment. It's like, oh wait, I have to like tell people to do some construction, and I have to do this, and I have to like actually know real estate. What would you say to those people, like on a scale from 0 to 10, how easy is this and how hard, 10 being the hardest?
Yeah. I mean, it depends like where you're at. I always say like, finding deals and just marketing and just like getting deals under contract is a whole big, deal in itself. A ton of work goes into that part. And then same with the rehab side. So like a guy like me, the best thing for me to do was to partner up with someone that already had that experience instead of me, getting my teeth kicked in, not knowing what I'm doing on rehabs. I found a good partner that had that experience. So I just like, I've never managed a rehab myself, but I partnered up with someone that I trust and that knows what he's doing on rehabs. So not that, and now I've learned so much from us doing rehabs together that, eventually we want to start maybe doing a couple projects out in Phoenix. Maybe if the market, I don't know, just the spreads are so much bigger in Jersey right now. It just kind of makes sense for us to do.
Yeah, I mean, dude, our spread, our average spread, this is kind of cool. I don't want to jinx it. I actually just got a text message from the girl, literally just barely pops up.
Yeah.
She just barely sent me a text a couple of minutes ago. The head of recruiting for the A&E television broadcasting network has been interviewing and doing having Zoom conversations with Jamil and I about putting a TV show together.
Oh, dope.
About wholesaling and fixing, flipping, and like integrating wholesale into that and integrating creative finance into that, and how Jamil and I are technically competitors, but we work with each other. Anyway, It's getting serious. Like she's texting me on a Sunday night, right? Like, hey, I need this, I need this, I need this type of stuff. So the thing about fixing and flipping is that it is we're in this conversation and she goes, so how much do you guys make on an average fix and flip? And I tell her, I go, we probably make 35 to 40 grand. And that's actually pretty high for Phoenix. Like Phoenix is probably more like a 25, 30, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she's like, that's all. And I'm like, yo, Amanda, like this is a very competitive market. Fix and flippers. Yes. We've had 50s, we've had 70s, we've had 90s. We had, in the beginning of the year, we had $100,000 deal, but our average deal is truly around 40K.
Right.
So for you, like if you were going to accelerate your growth, and this is a good question, I'm going to ask you two questions here.
Yeah.
David on the screen says, how is Ricky getting most of his deals? So Ricky, here's my question. How are you getting deals? And if I told you, hey, you need to amplify how many deals you're going to get, would you want to amplify those in Jersey or would you amplify those in Arizona?
Yeah. So as far as how we're getting most of our deals, it's honestly like pretty spread out. So out of the 15, the top 2 were RVMs and cold calling. I think cold calling, we get the most leads from, but it's also the most work to go through those leads because it's a lot of like, tire kicker type leads. The RVMs have been good. That's probably our best ROI. And then, we do bandit signs. We run internet ads, on Google and Facebook a little bit, SEO. So we kind of do a little bit of everything, and we get a few deals from every source. So I wouldn't say we have one that's like totally killing it over another as far as when it comes to marketing.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So I hear all the time people say, focus on one marketing mechanism until you perfect it. And
right. I don't agree.
I don't know that I agree with that.
I don't, because it's just like you got to hit people in different ways. Because here's the thing, like you might get, let's say like data. So if you have a list of data, what are the ways you could hit them? You could hit them with a cold call, you could hit them with a text message, or you could hit them with a voicemail. But what if that address that you want to buy their house? What if you got the wrong phone numbers? What if just, not all the data is perfect?
Mhm.
So, that person, you might never get in front of that person if you're only doing data marketing. But if you also have bandit signs out, if you also, show up on a Google search, or you have a radio ad, or whatever it is, you're on social media, there's a lot of different ways where I think it's good to kind of be, for people to be able to find you a lot of different ways, and not limit yourself to just kind of like one form of marketing. So that's my perspective on it. I'd rather be like pretty, just kind of all over the place, as long as I can manage the leads. If you can't manage the leads, don't spend money on marketing, because you're just going to be throwing dollars away. But if you could handle the lead flow, I think it's good to kind of spread yourself out from a marketing standpoint.
I like that a lot. I mean, it's a really good point. Let me answer a couple questions in here. We got a couple creative finance questions, which this is Sunday service after all. Usually I only talk creative finance, but here we are talking about fix and flip and all that kind of stuff. Let me jump on a couple of things. So Baller Z says, can you buy a house subject to that requires a down payment and the seller finance the down payment? The answer is yes. One of my better deals of the year was a seller that originally, and I shared this recording I share all my recordings with my sub 2 students, but I walk into the lady's house. Lady says, I want, this number on cash. I go, that's not going to work for me. I'm not a buyer for you, but I would buy it on terms. We get into a conversation and she goes, okay, tell me how terms work. I tell her how terms work. She goes, wow, that sounds great. We work out a purchase price. And then she goes, okay, so what's next? And I go, well, we've got to talk about, what you want in order to move forward. She goes, well, I want $20,000 down and I want 8% interest. And I talked her into $10,000 down, 0% interest.
Oh.
It was a good 30-minute recording. I'm sitting there in the living room, and how I converted her is a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But what I did is I said, here's the thing. I don't want to give you the $10,000 right now. I'll give you the $10,000, but what I basically want, and you know what? Here, I'll show you the document. Because I think a lot of people that have never seen a deal like this will be like, oh my gosh. Guys, when we talk about buying 0% seller finance deals, and we talk about, having a seller finance the down payment to you, it's not hocus pocus. It's not, hey, this is something that could happen if you were really, really good at this business. It's something that happens to us often. So yeah. I'm going to pull this up real quick and give you guys a little peek, not a peek. I'll show you my document. I'll show you my HUD. Let's see. Sign docs. Okay. Let's do a little screen share. Okay. Here we go. So here we are. Here's the address of the home. Where is it? This is my address. This is one of our LLCs. We don't use this LLC anymore. We basically here's the address of the house. You guys can pull it up, look it up. Here's the title company that did the work. Here's the seller's information. So we don't use this LLC anymore other than holding property, because every time we buy 20 houses, we go create another LLC. We hold a maximum of 20 houses per LLC. Okay, so check this out. So seller right here. Let me just make sure we can see this. Oh, yeah, there you can't see it. Awesome. Okay, yeah. So note and deed of trust. I bought this home for $100,000, as you guys can see. If you look down here, check it out. I bought this property on March 31st, 2020. I then gave them a $5,000 down payment 6 months later, and I don't have to give them another $5,000 down payment for another 6 months after that. Now, check this out. This is the part that's cool in and of itself. Does that answer your question? The answer is yes. Here's the address. Here's the date I bought it. Here's everything. Okay. Here's proof. Now, here's the interesting thing. Okay. The interesting thing is right here. In regular monthly installments of $375 or more, payable on or before the blah, 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 with all interest on principal at a rate of 0% interest. So my payment to the seller is $375 per month.
All principal.
All principal. I bought a house with no money out of my pocket. My payment to the seller is $375. Okay. Then I have that rented right now for $1,400 a month.
Oof.
Okay. All we did was we stretched the carpet. We didn't even replace the carpet. My partner Cody's like, hey, one of the bedrooms is missing a door. I go, dude, rent it out. Just freaking rent it out. So that thing's been rented out at $1,400 since March. We cash flow net, like after we put some vacancy and repair allocation to another bank account, which is another conversation for another day. We net on that property a little under $800.
Oh, I mean, nothing out of pocket. Can't beat that. And
No.
I don't think people understand how important, like 0% interest is like huge. You know, I don't think people understand, like, compared to, like, you know, how important 0 is compared to like 4% sometimes.
Dude, it's significant just between 0 and 2%, right? Like, just because the first 10, 15 years of that mortgage are primarily mostly interest. So you're paying a lot of money in interest, even if you're at 1%, because you're paying the majority of that interest up front. So the loan that we got from the seller, they sold it to us on seller finance. That situation, here's what's funny. Where'd the $5,000 come from?
Private money?
No, my cash flow.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. So that's
the reason I built it this way is because I knew I could cash flow a little, like right around $800 a month. Multiply that by 6. Where am I at?
Yeah.
Right. I'm like right at that $5,000 mark. So my cash flow has actually paid for the down payment on the property. Right. So people are like, oh, where do I get the money? I'm like, you get the money from the cash flow. Like, what are you talking about? You buy the house with 0% seller finance. You give the seller, I'll give you $10,000. Just give me a year to do that. You take the income from the renter. Meanwhile, the payment that you make to the freaking seller is paying $375 down every single month. And then my nearly $1,000 in cash flow is paying the down payment. So in March, that's basically a free house. That house is worth about $150,000.
Oh yeah.
Bro. Insane. So, anyway,
deals like that out here, man. Bro. I mean,
it's interesting. A lot of my New Jersey students are originally like, you can't do deals in Jersey. And I'm like, let's talk about that for a minute. You tell me, like, if I was going to go into if somebody told me to let's say we go to dinner, 3 people, you, me, and somebody else. It's like, don't go into Jersey. What would you say to the person across the table and saying, Pace, like, don't listen to this guy. Jersey is what?
Yeah, I would say, Jersey has opportunities for sure. Like, I think every market, here's my perspective, and let me know what you think on it, but I think every market has opportunities. I think there's always opportunity to find a distressed, motivated seller, in a desirable area where you could fix it up and, make a profit on it. So I think it is competitive. And I think when I see like people talking about Jersey, not everything's a deal. There's like a bunch of, it's hard to comp in Jersey because like it's such an old place. You think of like Phoenix, there's not stuff built in like the 1800s or in like early 1900s. In Jersey, you have a lot of like weird one-off properties, underground oil tanks, and just, a lot of strange properties that I think people are contracting bad deals. And then when they don't move, they get confused of like why they can't move any deals. But if you get like a good deal, it sells very quickly. Like we put in an offer on an on market. It was on market for 1 day, and there were like 20 offers, and they took like 25K over. So it's not like there's no competition there, but I think there's competition everywhere. So I don't know I don't know exactly what they mean, but a lot of people have said that to me as well from New Jersey. Maybe it's like the people there are definitely, a little more harsh on the phone. I think, you got New Jersey people saying, why the hell are you calling me? Get out of here. But there's definitely deals there, man. So, but you could keep believing there's not deals and, save them from me.
Exactly. Well, here's the way I look at it. I think that I would never go to a market that's not highly competitive. There's demand, right? There's people that are fixing and flipping. There's people that are sitting there negotiating with sellers. So if you learn how to collaborate and JV with people, and you know, maybe if you're using creative finance, you can go to wholesalers and say, hey, anything you don't that doesn't make sense for you on a wholesale front, send it to me and I'll help you convert it on a subject to or seller finance. Right. I would look at a market that has low competition as somewhere I would not want to go because I have less people to play in my sandbox with.
Yeah, you do. And that's kind of what happens, I think. You know, there's not a lot of real buyers there too. So on some of these tight assignment deals, like you see how like deals move in Phoenix, people like buy them sight unseen, you know, money's in hours, you know, in escrow. There's not as much of that in New Jersey. So I think it's definitely important to try to find like a couple like legitimate buyers that could like walk the property once and actually, you know, buy the deal and not just daisy chain it. You see a lot of that over there right now too. But I feel like you kind of
daisy chaining is something that you just have to get used to in this business. We do it all the time. I had a deal a year and a half ago that I had 9 people after me. So I was direct to seller. Right. I made $35K assigning to somebody, and it was 9 people after me, 10 wholesalers total daisy chained off my deal.
That's nuts.
It was insane. It wasn't like 10K. It was like 3K, 2K, 1K, 3K, 2K, right? It was just insane. And then the guy at the end, the funny thing is the guy who actually bought the property is somebody I already knew.
So you could have.
It's just so funny how that works out. Shane wants to know, what CRM are you guys using for your leads?
Yeah, so we use custom built Podio. So if you want more info, Shane, just DM me on Instagram, and I'll.
His name is on his right there. His moniker is right there. Real Estate Ricky _.
Yeah, but good question. But Podio, like a lot of other investors, Podio is kind of like one of the staple CRMs.
So Dylan Good is making a good comment. So Dylan Good's over in West Virginia. He's one of my students. Okay. And interesting story with Dylan. So he comes into my mentorship. We're on a Q&A, and I'm going to call him out a little bit because like this is actually what the story is about, is me calling him out. So we're on a Q&A. He's asking me questions that tell me he's not in the middle of a deal, right? He's just asking theoretical questions like, oh, well, what if this and what if that? And I'm like, Dylan, the questions we need to have you ask me are, hey, I'm in the middle of X, Y, and Z. Can you please answer this question? I need help, right? Like, I don't mind answering the theoretical, but that's what my recorded trainings are for. My 20, 30, 40 hours of like live Zooms every week are for situational stuff. Like, give me situations. Tell me you're in the middle of something. And he's like, well, I don't have a lot going on. So I told Dylan, who's a mentor, like a mentee of mine, I go, you are banned from the Zooms until you have a problem for me to solve. Like a real problem on a real deal. You're banned from all the Zooms. And he's like, what do you expect me to do? And I go, bro, you need to go to all the wholesalers in your market and you need to say, send me your leads that aren't converting.
Yeah.
So he gets into the Zoom like a week later. And this is an interesting story. I'll show you the Venmo for this too. It's a very interesting story. So he brings this lead to the table and he goes, hey, I've got this deal in Vegas. And it came from a wholesaler's dead lead. It has no equity. The seller just bought it in January. Mind you, this is April of this year. Yeah. Seller bought it in January. How much equity does he have if he bought it on a VA loan with zero money down?
Yeah, nothing.
Right. He's underwater technically, right? So
right. After closing costs, yeah, he would have to bring money to closing if you want to get rid of that.
So I get on the phone with the seller, has no equity, and then we find out this house won't cash flow because it's in an area that just the rent doesn't crush it. So I tell Dylan, I go, let me talk to the seller and I will buy this deal from you. He's like, you'll buy a no equity, no cash flowing deal? I go, absolutely. And at the time I was going to turn it into a corporate rental. So anyway, I get on the phone with a student. This was great because it's all on recorded Zooms. I get on the phone with the student's lead. The seller's name is Xavier. And he says, I need $10,000 and I'll let you buy my house sub 2. I then convert him to $0. So he then just hands his keys to me. Then what I did is I convinced him to pay his own closing costs. So he actually is Venmoing me because he didn't have the money for the closing costs. So here I am, what is it, 7, 8 months later, this guy every single month sends me a Venmo for $147.05, which is the closing cost divided out over a year. So he goes, I'll pay the closing costs, but I don't have the money, so I'll have to pay you every single month. So this guy, Xavier, is still paying me on a property that I got for free from him, that I turned into an Airbnb that I net $1,700 a month on. So guys, like, there are so many sub-2 deals out there and seller finance deals out there where you can structure it where you get into the deal without any money. Now, here's the best way to do a sub-2 or seller finance deal without any money, like the easiest way to do it. You wholesale it to a guy like me, right? You don't have to convert these and take them down yourself. You don't have to go get a loan. You don't have to do the renovation. You can wholesale a subject to and a seller finance just as easily as you can wholesale a traditional cash deal. Okay. Anise, actually, this is one of my acquisition guys, Anise. Anise says, if a seller wants you to take over their mortgage, they got very low equity and they want no money, just take over their loan. Would you buy that property if Oh, bro, that's funny that I just told you the story. Yes. The answer is yes. That my deal in Vegas is exactly that situation.
Right. Yeah.
I converted, it was a non-cash flowing deal. I converted it to an Airbnb and it's one of my best cash flowing properties. How'd I do it? What do you mean, how'd I do it? I just told you how I did it. Minerva says, Kamal, hi, I agree. Okay. There's so many chat things going on here. Hold on a second. Here we go. Daryl Banks. By the way, Daryl Banks, this is an interesting thing. Daryl Banks is one of my students. It's in the Northeast. Okay.
Okay.
And he's, I told him, if you live in the New Jersey area and you're trying to wholesale, fix and flip and all that kind of stuff in New Jersey, I personally wouldn't. I want to go somewhere that is warm all year long. And I want to go where there's tons and tons of people doing tons and tons of business. So I've advised him, like, hey, bro, try Florida, try Texas, try Arizona. What advice would you give? Daryl's asking you one question, but I want to ask you two questions. Daryl lives in that area. Would you and your partner be willing to chat with Daryl and have conversations with him, and maybe he could be one of your guys' bird dogs?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I think what I was thinking of in Pace, because I know you said you have a lot of Northeast students.
Tons.
How about anyone who's listening to this now that's in Jersey, around New York City and Philly? If you're in any of those markets, DM me and we'll just set up a 30-minute phone call.
You know what we should do, bro, is I literally have probably 50 to 75 sub-2 students in Jersey and New York.
Yeah.
Philly would probably bump that to like over 100 people easy. We should have you do a specific Zoom with my students this week where it's just the Northeast group and you, and do like an hour Q&A and find out how they can work with you and your partner, Steve, to bring deals to you. And then also, I think my students, or anybody really for that matter, knowing you that you're a go-giver, these people would be benefited on any fix and flip you guys have coming up, that you go, hey, we're going to do like an open house of this fix and flip. You guys come down. We'll show you exactly what we're doing. Would you be open to doing that?
Yeah, for sure. We're trying to definitely kind of do more of that over this next year and stuff. So we're trying to just, kind of like taking, you kind of set the path for us. We're trying to bring it to New Jersey as far as, just kind of giving back to the community and trying to really help these new people in New Jersey and like the Northeast. I think there's like a few different ways of doing things that I think a lot of the teaching that you hear on like YouTube and stuff, it's not really from people from the Northeast. It's from a lot of people from North Carolina, a ton of Phoenix, it's kind of more like out West. So I think there are like some small little things that, as far as like just determining, like I said, my buy price is different than your buy price.
Right.
Because the expectation in New Jersey is just higher for flippers. So there's just like, I think small little things. And we also like dispo deals in Philadelphia and like North Jersey. So there's a lot of little things that I think I could definitely help some students out with. So yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, let's do this. So I can see, can you see the chat if you're a guest?
Yeah. I'm just seeing the chat on the bottom.
Okay, yeah, dude, I've got hundreds of chat between all of the Facebook and YouTube streams.
I went to the comments on. Okay. Oh yeah, we got a lot. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so this is and we're over 300 viewers. I really appreciate you guys a lot. So here's what I'm gonna do. I want Maurice or Marlon, probably Maurice, because Maurice already volunteered himself. We'll set this up for this coming week. Cool. And I'll have Ricky come into your guys's Shy, Marlon, or Maurice. What day is your guys' accountability call? That's another cool thing about our mentorship is that every geographical area has an accountability group that meets every week or every other week, and they all work with each other. They role play, they work leads together, they share buyers, all that kind of stuff. So,
awesome. Yeah,
my students are saying it's Thursdays.
Okay. Yeah, I could do it Thursday for sure.
Marlon, what time on Thursday works? Because I'll create a Zoom link for you guys. Thursdays at 7 p.m. But you guys got to remember, we're in Arizona, Shy. Is that 7 p.m. our time or 7 p.m. your time? Do you see how many students I have from New Jersey popping in here?
Yeah, man. I love it.
Okay, so
East Coast represent. Yeah, I mean like 7 Eastern. Yeah, whatever time works for you guys on Thursday.
Okay, cool. So that's 5 p.m. this Thursday. I'll set that up and I'll send you the Zoom link for you to jump in there.
Yeah. I could just answer, any questions any of your students have, anything they want to learn.
What I would want is I want you to teach them how to bring you opportunities so that they can JV with you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think I think we were going to touch upon it more, but, we were talking about how we found all of our deals this year, how it came up earlier, and all of our deals were direct to seller marketing. So I think what I've learned from, a lot of the guys out here that I spend my time with is, they get a ton of deals coming to them where, people need help with deals in different ways, and just JVing deals is something that we definitely, for us to get to like 25 flips next year, which is our goal, I think that's something that we need to tap more into, because sometimes direct marketing, it comes in waves, but kind of using everyone else and kind of using a community where it could be mutually beneficial, especially they're talking about New Jersey, like taking away assignments has been a talk of like some title companies aren't accepting assignment contracts anymore. So I think there might be a transition where you actually need to know your buyers. I mean, you can still kind of wholesale deals and bring opportunities to buyers and still get paid for finding them, but it might be a little different than kind of how it's been.
Yeah, I like that. I had a couple of people on. I have another podcast. We have 4 podcasts.
I can't keep up with all yours, man.
I know it's a lot. It's a lot, and I'm actually creating a 5th one with my wife. So just do yourself a favor and don't tune into everything I do. Anyway, so I was on a podcast the other day, and the conversation was over and over and over. I get people that go, "Should I get a real estate license?" Because there's going to be a lot of legislation heading our way. I'd say over the next 3 to 7 years that state after state after state are going to start having us be required. Like, what was it? Pennsylvania just put a law in order that says you have to be you're required to be a licensed wholesaler. You don't have to be a licensed real estate agent, but you have to be a licensed wholesaler. This is coming down. This like legislation just passed. They're going to start putting.
That's interesting. Super
interesting. So I was on the phone with Jerry Norton about it yesterday, and he was talking about 4 other states that are starting to implement it. And what it is it's real estate agents having a hard time competing. So instead of them learning how to implement wholesale, fix and flip, go and figure out cash deals and creative finance. Yeah. Like I was texting an agent yesterday, sends me a deal. I go, it sounds like a sub 2. She goes, "Oh, what's sub 2?" And I go, "Dude, you follow me on Instagram. Like, what do you mean what's sub 2? That's literally all I talk about." Yeah. And she goes, "I know, but I don't really know what you're doing." And then I go, I'm like, "Dude, you've been an agent for 12 years and you don't know what creative finance is? 12 years?" Anyway, my point is this. My point is that the climate is changing. Yeah. And you need to not be bothered if legislation comes down that says you need to get a license, and you need to not be bothered if you are required to sell the deal to your actual buyer, have your buyer close on the deal, and then you figure out how to get paid after the transaction.
Exactly.
That requires you to actually have a conversation with a real buyer, which is something I scream from the freaking mountaintops. So many wholesalers are running out getting contracts, and then they get a contract and they can't sell it because, number one, comps don't, your Zillow, your PropStream, your anything does not determine the purchase price.
Totally
the
agree.
purchase price is determined by the actual buyer of that property. So call a Ricky, call a Pace, and say, hey, dude, if somebody calls you and says, hey, I have a deal, isn't that the best call of the day?
Dude, yeah. 732-804-9576.
Everybody here, bro, can you put your stuff in the chat?
Yeah, I'll throw it in there because legit, yeah. I mean, for a deal, it's like, if you're going to ask me, like, you know, what is wholesaling? I don't want to, you know, answer phone calls like that, but a deal, dude, you know how it is. If someone calls you about a deal, you'll, how do you even do this?
I don't know. Give me your number.
732-804-9576. Yeah, if you have a deal, just text me about it. Honestly, like, let's talk about it. But to your point, man, like, I don't try to give these wholesalers like a hard time sometimes, but like, I'll give them feedback on deals, and I'm just like, man, I think you're not even in the same ballpark. You're 30 grand over. And here's why. You know, you're comparing your comp to, you know, a property that was built 60 years later. You know, your property is on a double yellow road. This property doesn't, you know, has septic. This, compared to the comps, have public water and sewage. You know, there's so many just kind of little things that I think, you know, people get so excited to get those contracts instead of really spending time. Like, I was actually talking with a guy who reached out. He heard me on our podcast a couple weeks ago, and he's in New Jersey, and he works for one of the biggest gas companies in the state. So he was kind of trying to figure out, like, how could he provide value for me? And I'm like, dude, you're going to houses all the time, and, you know, you're cutting off gas lines. Like, you're dealing with distressed homes and sellers. You know, all you have to do is just tell them that, you know, hey, I have a friend that buys deals, and you can make money that way as well. So, you know, I just think it's, you got to get creative when it comes to, you know, all of this, but you also have to, you know, make sure that you're buying and contracting deals. And I think the best way to do that is talking to actual buyers. And I just give you a buy price. I'm like, hey, I can get this for 100, you know, we'll pay 100 grand for this. Anything you get less than that, keep, man. Like, I don't care how much money you make. I hope you get it for 50K.
Yeah, we had a deal last summer where I met the wholesaler at title. We bumped into each other, and they were assigning the deal to me, and they made $60,000, and he was embarrassed to tell me. And I go, bro, I'm so pissed off at you right now. He goes, why? Because I made 60 grand. I go, no, bro, because you didn't make more. I want you making more, because if you're making more money and I'm your buyer, you're happy, we keep doing deals together. I couldn't care any less how much money you make.
Totally understand. Like, I'm rooting for them to make more money, you know, because then they're going to invest in more marketing, and then they're going to send us more deals that we're going to buy. So it's like everyone wins. There's not like a limited amount of deals out there, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. So Dylan Good, one of my Dylan Good, feeling good is what I call him. Love him. He's a great guy. He says, how are you both adjusting, and what are you doing to be prepared for what will possibly happen in the next coming years?
Yeah, I think for us, you know, it's always a constant adjusting, you know, to different marketing, you know, kind of what's going on. Like, people even, I had a TikTok question about, you know, what's going to happen with wholesaling if, you know, the market dips. And I'm like, it's just going to be different. You know, it's going to be more distress from sellers. They won't think their house is worth, you know, $1 million, and they'll kind of come back to reality. But then there will be, you know, less buyers to sell deals to. So I just think it's always, you know, you just have to be used to always adjusting in real estate, and not just stick to one strategy is kind of probably what I would say. Just have to be able.
The way I look at it is, I look at it from the standpoint of, let's say that I want to be the perfect warrior, right? I want to go out into battle, and I want to be armed properly. I want to have a shield. I want to have a sword. I want to have a helmet, and I want to have body armor.
Right.
The way I look at that is I go, shield is my creative finance, sword is my wholesale, my body of armor is my fix and flip, and then my helmet is, you know, building, developing, or just traditional real estate in terms of, you know, being able to do short sales, having somebody on your team. Like my wife can do short sales. She can do short sale negotiating. So if you're going to be a perfect warrior walking into this war that we're going to have, don't look at yourself as just a wholesaler. Okay.
Totally.
Because think about this. In a traditional transaction, where's the product come from? It comes from a seller, distressed seller. It comes to us, we get it under contract, and then we turn around and we assign it to a fix and flipper like Ricky or like myself, right? We assign it to a cash buyer. That cash buyer goes and then fix and flips it. The market is trending upward, and so they know like they're protected by the market instead of the market is in a downward trend. In a downward trend, cash buyers are not buying to fix and flip. They're not stupid. At least the majority of them are out of the market. And if they are buying, they're buying so deeply discounted that it is really hard for wholesalers to sell them deals, right? So, here's what happens in a distress situation. Look back at 2008, 2009, 2010, 11, and 12. Not only did wholesale take a pause for like 18 to 24 months, but what happened is families, John and Betty Smith, they couldn't go out and get a loan because lending requirements got shrunken down. Like traditional lenders basically went away for a number of years. So the guys who are crushing it are the guys nobody talks about because they're not on Instagram. They're not on YouTube. They're the older guys. What they were doing is they were still wholesaling, but what were they wholesaling? They were buying houses subject to, wholesaling those to John and Betty Smith who couldn't get a loan for their family. So there was no cash buyer there. It was a family that couldn't get qualified for a loan. So in a distressed market, creative finance absolutely destroys everybody because you're solving a problem by taking over a debt that somebody can't pay because the market is crazy. Then you're selling it to somebody that can't go out and get traditional financing, and they'll give you a down payment towards that home. So creative financing, I put this on my Facebook or my Instagram this morning. Oh my gosh, yeah, guys, Victoria, absolutely. Has anyone ever used seller finance for a fix and flip? I coined the phrase sub-tail.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
So a lot of people will talk about wholesale, where I buy it wholesale, and it's basically just a lipstick fix and flip, and I throw it on the market. So I have bought houses subject to, and I've put them on the retail market. Why would I buy a house subject to and not keep it? The reason why is because I bought it subject to and the cash flow is not amazing, but there's enough equity that I can take that to the retail market and make money. Okay. My wife is my listing agent. Oh yeah. Look my wife jumping on there. She's the one that lists it and deals with all the buyers. She says, Pace has multiple times. It's a great way to buy without hard money. So yes. And then we also do it with seller finance, and we also do a lot of novation agreements. I actually have a seller I'm negotiating with on a novation agreement right now. Ricky, are you familiar with novation agreements?
We've never done one.
So a novation agreement in your situation would be amazing. It's all primarily used for fix and flip, but it's a seller that says, fix my house while I keep the mortgage in place. You don't have to close on it. You don't have to go get hard money. We'll just leave the mortgage in place, and I will have the deed and title while you guys go and fix it. You put it on the market. So you basically work out an upfront price and a contract with the seller. You don't close escrow on the purchase. You do the renovation, put it on the retail market. The retail buyer comes in and wipes out all the seller and your profit. So you never even had to take title, or you never had to even open escrow, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So do you get a lien on the property then for the?
Yeah, you'll put a not only a memorandum, but you'll also put a lien against the property. If I go out and let's say I go get a private lender to pay for my construction costs, my private lender comes in with a note and deed of trust with the seller's permission to put that against their property.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. We haven't done a whole lot of creative deals yet, but I think to your point is like, you have to get used to, if you find a distressed situation, you got to figure out a way to solve that problem And like, you know, if a situation like '08 happened again, you know, would we stop flipping houses? Probably, but we would just transition into, you know, a different way to solve that seller's problem. So I think, you know, you always kind of preach it, but just solving the problem the best way possible and having more tools on your belt is, I mean, a great way to do it.
Yeah. And I think that that's what happens with like real estate agents right now, is that real estate agents, and this is why did I say traditional real estate is the helmet, right? Traditional real estate is the helmet of the body, because real estate agents are hard headed. That's why.
So one
track mind, market changes, Zillow's coming in, OfferPad, Open Door, all these companies are coming in and changing the climate of real estate, and so many agents are just not getting on the wagon.
They're not. It's crazy. I checked out a house in my neighborhood that I might have been looking to buy, and Zillow bought it. So it was the first time I went to one of their homes, but you just go on their app, you walk it right outside at the door, and you just hit unlock right on your phone, and it automatically just unlocks the door, and you get like a tour, and just no one's there. Like I'm wondering, like with squatters and stuff like that, long term, like I don't know if they've thought that through, but the game is definitely changing though, you know. And I think it's the realtors that are savvy and are going to adjust. I'm almost thinking like in the future, it's not going to be what we think of a realtor as today. I think it's more going to be like a consultant, and they're going to consult you on the best way for you to sell your real estate, whether that is putting it on the market, selling to a guy like us, you know, doing something creative. But I think we'll become like kind of more consultative than kind of the traditional ways of doing things in the future. I don't know what you think about that.
I agree with all that 100%. This is an interesting question my wife is proposing for us. So Laura on the internet, sexiest Laura on the internet, by the way, unbelievable. So she says to me, ooh, I got this really good question, dude. Hold on just a second. And then we'll come back to this, because I think that one with my wife is a longer question.
Okay.
I posted a question about negative equity in a property earlier in the creative finance group. Can you talk about that? Shaquan, let me ask you a question. Do you think I pay my bills with equity? The answer is no. I don't care about equity. I just bought anybody that follows me on Instagram, I was just in Atlanta last week, bought a $1.1 million home for basically what it's worth. But why did I buy it? I bought it on seller finance. It's a gorgeous home in like the most ritzy area of Atlanta. Why would I buy this house? Well, because I'm turning it into an Airbnb, or at least I'm hoping to. I haven't turned it into an Airbnb yet, but I don't care about equity. I never have cared about equity, because let me tell you something. This is going to go on a t-shirt or on my tombstone. Equity comes and equity goes. Cash flow always stays. The actual phrase I came up with was equity comes, equity goes, but the cash will always flow. So you have to understand that we don't pay our bills with equity. I don't go down. My wife and I just had dinner. I don't go down and pay my dinner bill with my equity. I pay my dinner bill with my cash flow. So I buy properties primarily, and you'll see students of mine, when they first come into my mentorship, they'll go, hey, I've got this deal, has a ton of equity. I go, I don't care about that. I care about what's my ability to cash flow. And it's the same thing with a property that even I'm paying $40,000, $50,000 more than what it's worth. I care more about how easy is it to get into the deal, and can I cash flow? So equity comes and equity goes, but the cash will always flow.
Yeah, okay? No, it's huge too, because like, you know, there's a ton of deals. Like we're not doing the creative stuff right now. We might branch out in the future, but we come across a deal and there's no equity. You know, we're just we're not doing anything with those. And a lot of people in our market are doing the same thing. So like some of your students who, you know, they know how to underwrite these creative deals, and you know, they're working with you guys on deals. I just see like such a big opportunity over there of, you know, even if guys like me, and I know the other buyers, they're not really touching those low equity. I feel like people aren't really even hitting up those low equity people. So, you know,
100%, bro, 100%. So my wife, this is a really good question for you and I, because I think you and I maybe do this the same way. I hope we do, but I might be wrong. My wife wanted me to go over
what she said,
the cost of getting into a fix and flip, right? So when you do a fix and flip, Ricky, And Ricky, when did you start real estate?
A year and a half ago.
Okay. So in a year and a half, did it take you a year and a half to figure out how to do those, 15 deals that you've done? Or on deal one, did you have access to capital? How did that look? What does that look like?
Yeah. So we definitely started out wholesaling deals at first. So what was kind of interesting is we didn't have capital. We were just wholesaling deals. And then we had one last New Year's Eve of last year. A deal came in through a text message, and it was a $40,000. We double closed it. So this was the first time we took a private money loan. So after we did a couple wholesales, what happened was a couple of people that I knew, family, friends, and just people in my network, they actually came to me and they asked me, hey, how can I get involved? So I think that's important too, guys. Like, start doing some like transactions and just start showing that you actually do real estate deals. And I think a lot of the times the money will come to you, because we have about $1 million in private money. And I never, went out and raised any of that. It always just came to me from people wanting to, guys like with 401ks, kind of want to diversify. We pay them 10% interest only on the back end is how we do most of our private money loans. So definitely like I think when you're starting out, I would say, wholesale a couple deals, or like partner with, a guy like, bring an opportunity to someone who's done some deals. And as long as everyone can make some money on it, or even if it's your first one, don't even worry about the money that you're going to make on it. Just worry about learning the experience and getting yourself involved in a fix and flip with someone that knows what they're doing, because it could be a lot to just take on that as like your first real estate transaction all by yourself.
Yeah, I like all of that. So something that I point out to everybody, guys, we're doing probably 4 to 6 fix and flips every month. My wife is my listing agent. I don't even know what's going on with the listings. We have a Slack channel, but I'm in the Slack channels. I just don't check them on the fix and flips because we have a really good team that handles it, my wife being one of them. And on all of our fix and flips, people ask me, how much money did you have to put together? How much money did you have to save up? Guys, we have probably 15 to 20 houses, between houses we're buying right now, houses that are in construction, and houses that are currently on the market or in escrow. And not a single one of those houses do I have a single dollar involved in.
Yeah, I've never spent a dollar of my own money to fund any of my real estate deals.
Right. People need to understand that, because it's a big hesitation of theirs. Like, you're making $70K on average per deal, bro, and you have none of your own money involved.
Yeah. And I think what people, they skip the getting really good at this business first before the money comes to you. If you become an expert and you start doing deals, like I'm sure you've seen it, like the more deals you did, the more money came that started coming to you. More people wanted to get involved. So I think people always have to kind of be thinking in that lens as well, where they might not know where the money is going to come from, like right now, but don't worry about that. Just worry about finding deals. And if it's a good enough deal, you will for sure be able to find money for it.
Yeah. Guys, who's excited about my wife and my podcast? I see my wife blowing up the comments. So I've never seen my wife this active, but because we're talking about traditional real estate and fixing and flipping, so that's where she's an expert. I mean, she's obviously very good with creative finance and everything else as well. She is the listing agent for our new builds. We have 10 new builds that are being built right now, and she's our agent on those. There's not much about real estate that my wife doesn't know. She actually knows way more about traditional real estate than I do with short sales and stuff like that, because she's actually negotiated and dealt with them. But I mean, how often do you get an agent that jumps? My wife is a licensed agent. She's been licensed for 10 plus years. And you get an agent that comes in here talking about don't miss out on low equity deals. Her and I are creating a podcast called Profit and Love. It was originally going to be called P&L, just for profit and loss. But then I was like, profit and loss, like my wife, I don't want my wife like looked at as the loss on the L. Right. And so we created it as Profit and Love. Should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. And we talk primarily about traditional real estate and also a relationship with your significant other. You don't have to be married. You don't have to be male and female. It can be two guys, two girls, doesn't matter. We're going to have multiple married guests on the show talking about how they're building their businesses together, the challenges and all of those types of things going on. Just to shed some light on the challenges that her and I have had, how we overcame them, what mind space we're currently in, what things we're working on now. And having married people come on the show to highlight that relationship, I think would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude, I think that's awesome. Like, I recently got into an awesome relationship and with Dana. I don't know if she's watching still, but I was kind of talking to her about like life as a real estate investor is like, it's different, you know, than like a normal life. So I feel like to kind of hear your perspective of, you know, you and Laura seem to, you know, just be killing life and have such a beautiful family and stuff, that it'd be really cool to get your guys' perspective on kind of that dynamic and how to really have a successful kind of relationship through all this. Cause it's a crazy life for sure. You know,
it is a crazy life. I think part of it is picking the right partner up front.
Yeah.
That's part of it. And then part of it is also being mature enough to recognize, you know, when you are the issue in the relationship, and then being smart enough to ask, hey, how can I help overcome these issues or whatever it is? From the outside looking into other people's relationships, one, I just look at some people get together and I'm like, you should, bro, like you want to create a family with kids and this girl you're with wants to party. Like that's probably not a good fit right now. Maybe in 5 years, right? Maybe date, don't get married. And vice versa, same thing. Like I know a girl that divorced a guy because he was addicted to video games. Like literally would go to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, wake up at like 9, 10 the next day, jump right back on video games and like, hey, have a good day. You know, sweetheart, go make that money. I'll see you at home later. She comes home, he's playing video games.
Yeah.
Obviously that's a significant issue, right? And you want to make sure that you're not marrying and connecting with the wrong people. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but I think the main thing we'll talk about is what are her responsibilities? What are mine? If she's falling, you know, short, how do I come up to the table? And definitely when I fall short, how does my wife come to the table with all of her things? And what are those things? What do they actually look like, right? The meat and potatoes of the conversation, I think will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's so cool. It was funny. I got lunch with Bobby today. Your camera guy.
You got lunch with Bobster the Lobster?
Yeah, dude. So I'm like building like a home studio. Like I like ordered like $10,000 of equipment. Like he hooked it up. Yeah. So it's more content, Flip Labs, more content on the way.
Love it.
But it was funny. I was talking to him. I was like, you know, you kind of been with Pace, you know, along this road. Like, what did you kind of see from Pace? Like how he's grown this community and done all this stuff. He's like, dude, Pace is always at it. Like, you know, and I've seen that too. But so that's why I think it'd be cool to hear how, you know, you can do so much. Like, I feel like you're always working and always doing things, but then you also have like this like awesome family life too. So I think it'd be kind of cool to get that perspective from you and Laura, kind of hearing her side of things.
I think for sure, like what we're doing, people are like, why is it taking so long to do the podcast? Like do the podcast already. And I go, well, dude, my graphic designer, Georgia, I talked to her and I said, I really want my wife to be the prominent figure in this podcast, not me. Like Sunday service is my podcast, so I can do what I want, talk as much as I want, have whatever guests I want. It's about whatever I feel and it's mine. But like the Profit in Love, I don't want to dominate it. I want my wife to be the showrunner. And so the graphic design behind it needs to show like her power and what she brings to the table. Because she actually is, I don't know what word I would want to use without upsetting people, but my wife is more submissive. I'm traditional sense of like, my husband says this, we're going to do this, right? Unless it's like, obviously, you know, we're jumping off a cliff or something.
Yeah.
But the reality is my wife is so incredibly good behind the scenes that I really want to push her to the forefront and show and highlight the things that she's doing really, really well. And I think in those conversations, we'll be able to highlight how that allows me to do all the things that I do, right? So I think you're hitting the nail on the head there.
Cool concept. Also, she got to teach me how to go viral on TikTok.
Bro, she had 2 million plus views on that one baby powder thing.
I know, I saw that. I'm trying to grow the TikTok, and I'm like, damn, Laura's just crushing the TikTok game.
I know, dude. I almost want to give up because I'm not a hot chick. You know what I'm saying?
Is that what it is, Pace? That's why.
I think so.
I'm gonna get my girlfriend on my TikToks then.
You should, bro. All right, guys. So we've got just a couple of minutes left for Sunday service. Who got value tonight? How my wife, this is so funny. My wife says I'm along for the ride, which is so not true. She is absolutely, as everybody's going to say, you know, this is the cliche stuff. My wife is my motivation, just like your girlfriend, you know, is currently your motivation. And it's nice to be on the same page. But my wife really, really does call the shots on certain things. So it'll be a lot of fun to have those conversations. But Ricky, I think my sub 2 students are going to be pumped. Thursday, 5 p.m. Arizona time. You come into their accountability group, talk about how you guys can do deals together in the Jersey market. What do you feel like you need in the Jersey market right now? What do you and your partner, Steve, need right now?
Definitely flips. So single family flips in Monmouth, Ocean, Mercer, Burlington, and Camden County. So kind of central South Jersey. We're looking for single families between 200 to 600 ARV. Just any distressed situation, just send us an address. We'll give you a buy price. And then, you know, if you want to contract it, or if you just want us to, like, we could just take it over, however it is. But, you know, we're super flexible and easy with that. And yeah, any one of your students that just wants some advice or pick my brain, who's listening tonight, just reach out to me. I gave my cell in here, so just do that, or Instagram. I'd be happy to, you know, help your community the way you kind of helped me get to this point.
Bro, we're going to do plenty more content together. I'd love to have you back out on Sunday service. We've got, average viewership today was over 325, which is pretty decent for a Sunday at 8:00 at night.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you guys.
A couple weeks, Bobby's going to set up the studio for me. So we'll be rocking and rolling.
Bro, anytime you need help, I think Bobby and I were talking about last night at our Christmas party. He goes, I'm going to do this stuff for Ricky. And he goes, I should just tell him that you probably know more about the studio stuff at this point than I do.
He says you're getting
any questions you have about like connectivity or any of that kind of stuff, let me know. I haven't even, literally, like what you guys see, I have not even done 20% of what we plan on doing in the next 30 days. We just have like ordered everything, but everything's on back order. So we've hodgepodged everything together, but our studio is going to be pretty epic in the next 3-4 months.
I'll have to come check it out, and we'll have to see each other's setups.
Guys, so everybody, here's what I want you guys to do before we wrap up. Reach out to Ricky, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or we put his phone number up here. His Instagram is realestatericky_. Don't forget the underscore, because I have before forgotten the underscore when I tag you, and I have to go back and try and re-tag you. So do not forget the underscore. realestatericky_, as you can see on his name. Who thinks we should have my wife come in to Sunday service next week as the main guest? Would anybody get value out of having my wife? I've been doing this podcast for 2 years, not quite, maybe a year and a half, but we've been streaming it live for about 9 months. Would anybody get value from having my wife come in? And if so, tag her on Instagram, let her know. Let's see if we can get her convinced to come over here. Ricky, you're the freaking man.
So are you, Pace, man. It was fun.
I'm going to set up a Zoom for you and my students. And then I'm going to put your contact information on my Instagram and let everybody know to go back and rewatch this episode, because I think it was really, really good. Before we leave,
a lot of value out of it.
Shane asked, what are the list of counties that you want to do one more time?
Yeah. Monmouth County, Ocean County, Mercer County, Burlington County, Camden County, and Middlesex County in New Jersey. But we will dispo any deal in any, like, North Jersey and Philly. We could dispo deals, but we're just fixing and flipping in those counties I listed. But we could help dispo deals or wholesale deals all over the place in the Northeast.
Love it. You're the man, brother. We'll see you soon.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
See you guys on next week's Sunday service. And tomorrow I'll see you on Wholesale Hotline. And I will see you in Dallas tomorrow. Unfortunately, I have to fly out to Dallas again to have a lot of fun actually at Donovan Ruffin's event tomorrow. Jamil and I will be speaking on stage. If you're in Dallas, come out, check out